Alright guys, welcome to Quick Bites with GTG. I'm your host. And I actually always wanted to do something like this, almost like a short topic video, if you will. I don't know when, just whenever I felt like there was something that I was kind of thinking about. And I never really knew how I was going to format it. I still don't, so we're just going to wing it, as usual. But I'd like to actually thank Cypher99 for actually kind of, in a lot of ways, sparking me finally doing this. So here's the idea. You and I, we have a good time with each other. We have some laughs. We have some critical thinking and so on and so forth. But it's very rare that I get a chance to actually spend a much shorter time with you because I talk too goddamn much. So let's look at this as a small lunch break, if you will. Just something that we're just going out to get a bite to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that. You know, it's kind of nice that we kind of actually go out and actually do something, if you will. So that's kind of what the point of all this is, to be honest. It's a topic video. I'll talk about any type of random thing that comes up. And Cypher brought this up, so I thought, you know, hey, this would be a good look. So, what is on the menu? I'm feeling like a burger. Something nice, juicy, you know, something filling. So that's kind of what we're going with. So hope you're cool with that. Beer or a soda of your choice, whatever. It's a quick lunch, something cool. Now, as you see on screen, Cypher has brought up a very good point as it pertains to how old was Phil when the whole Wolverine action figure situation went about. I actually sent him 2 videos before I actually clipped his comment there. I'm actually going to go over those 2 videos right now, and then we're going to go over a follow-up later on. The reason why we're doing a follow-up, ladies and gentlemen, is because Phil has actually changed that story. But let's give you guys a little bit of detail, shall we? So let's paint the picture. So when Phil did an Axe the King, or no, he did a Hate Live, where he was talking about a toy basically that he didn't get when he was a kid, and he was still bitching about it like 10 plus years later, if not longer. The discrepancy was, how old was he? When I first heard about this story, I thought, okay, maybe he was like 12. And then I talked to a couple people and they were like, nah, we think he was actually closer to like 15. So when Cypher brought this to me, I decided to go ahead and hit Twitter and hit Kiwi Farms just to try to get an idea. And it's still kind of up in the air on exactly how old he was. Like I said, some people think 15, some people think 12. Phil, in the original version, made himself seem like he was much younger than probably 9 years old. The way he makes it sound, he's between like 5 and 7, and so on and so forth. It could be, he might even make himself sound like he's even younger. So we're walking into a situation that's already based off of misinformation in the fact that the source is a liar, and we don't know exactly what or how old the guy really was. Yeah, it really was. So we're gonna go over these 2 videos. It's gonna be funny. Hopefully it's just like I said, something small to kind of slide you through your day and whatnot. And you know, it's kind of nice to take you guys out for lunch every once in a while. So you know, don't worry, everything's on me. So what are the 2 videos we're going after? First one is going to be DarkSydePhil / DSP Toy Story. That's by a channel called AreYouGray. And then the second video is DarkSydePhil and the Wolverine Toy / interview with comic book store manager, or comic book store owner, 2008. And that's by Julius Cruz. I will have both videos linked down in the comment section below. And yeah, so that's kind of what that situation is. So let's not hold off on this any longer. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, go ahead and get ready to order. You know what I'm saying? Thank you yet again to Cypher99 for bringing this up. And though you probably weren't expecting me to make a video out of it, I thought it might be a nice topic to start off, because I have others too. Like why Phil has messed up, why Phil didn't utilize his business properly in the beginning. I have all kinds of different ideas I'd like to try to go over. And like I said, they'll probably be short, compact for the most part. I'm not trying to talk your ears off, despite the fact that I do anyway, and they might actually be long videos. We will see. But initially, know that I'm going into this with the good faith that I want them to be shorter videos. But they probably won't. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, quick bite with GTG. This is kind of our christening of a series, if you will. And I'll see you guys in just a second. Oh boy. I want heavy bacon on my burger. By the way, heavy bacon. No, I do.
And he says, is there something as a kid that you desperately wanted but you never got? Like a toy or a video game?
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, yet again, we are here with AreYouGray, DarkSydePhil / DSP Wolverine Toy. The actual original video comes from Hate Live number 10, I believe. I think in Julius Cruz video, he'll also emphasize that too. But I think it's like episode number 10. Couldn't tell you exactly what the timestamp is, but that's at least where the source is at. All right, here we go. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, my fries better be delicious. Actually, is it all you can eat fries or like bottomless fries? It better be, because I'll tell you right now, it's not like these burgers, not like handcrafted burgers are getting any cheaper.
Now, this is a funny story. This is a very funny story, okay? When I was a kid, there was this one year, and let me, please, all of you on the stream, if you are a parent, if you plan to be a parent someday, please heed my advice, because this is something that, just heed my advice. If you listen to this story, this will help you, okay?
It seems awkward that Phil would give, parenting advice to anybody. More importantly than that, why would he even think that's a good idea? Look at how he came out. Could you imagine someone being like, you know what? I've been a fan of DarkSydePhil for like 7 or 8 years. Yeah, I'm gonna mold my child to be a stand-up, respectable business owner like DarkSydePhil. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. He lacks any common sense and or self-control now. And at this point, he was what? In his he's at least 30, I would think, at this point. I would think. Because you would think this is in 2013, I think. Yeah, it's like 2013. So he's already 30, or he's 30 plus at this point. And look at how he continued to act. So it seems weird that he would give parental advice. That seems silly.
When I was a child, I was very different than the other children. My mom could take me to the local store. And what she would do is she would go to the toy department first, before we looked at anything else in the store. She would say, okay, Philip, because she used to call me Philip. She would say, okay, Philip, pick any toy. And I would look around. Ooh, I like that one. And she'd hand it to me, and I would look at it. And the whole time we were in the store, I would just look at the toy. Look at the toy. Look, oh, it's nice. It's an awesome toy. I would read all the packaging. Of course, I couldn't, very limited reading that I had back then, but I would read as much as I could. You know, look at colorful packaging.
I just sound clip that. So this is kind of our starting point as it pertains to his age. He was reading the package as much as he can, as limited as his reading capacity was, or comprehension, if you will. So, like I said, what age would you give him? Because Phil makes him seem like he was certainly extraordinary as a child and whatnot, because he was different from all the other children. Like, there aren't other parents who used to do the exact same thing and their kids wouldn't act up. Whatever. So that's where our starting point is. But then again, ladies and gentlemen, Phil is very much a liar, or he certainly exaggerates to make himself look good. Strange flex. And so we really don't know, to be honest with you. And Phil's story keeps changing, that it's hard to figure that out. You'll find that out in the follow-up later. Some of the details that he changes. Not necessarily the age, per se. It's been a while since I've seen it. But certainly how the story actually goes, to some degree.
I remember back then the biggest thing was He-Man figures. So it was always He-Man. I would look at the figure. So it'd be hours my mom would be in the store shopping for different stuff or whatever. And then finally at the end of the day, we would go back to the toy department and I would put the toy back. And I wouldn't bitch and moan. I wouldn't demand that my mom buy it for me. I knew that that was just a normal day. She was there to go get groceries or whatever it was we were there for. And that when it was either my birthday or a holiday, that's when I would get my toy. And that's how I was as a kid. And a lot of you might be saying, what the fuck? And yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was my raising or if it's just the way I was. I was very content to see stuff for a limited amount of time, put it back, and then know that if I want that permanently, I can get it on a holiday. I don't know. That's just how I was as a kid. Okay? So yeah. So I remember this one time. Now, this was much later than that. That was when I was a small child. When I was much older. So we're talking, I was still preteens, but I was around that age, you know, the 10 to 12, whatever range.
Okay,
and
now here we go. So, and I told you it was gonna change. There was gonna be a bit of a shift, and that's just kind of how Phil's narrative goes. So, here is where our general. So, like I said, I gave you the pre-stream, if you will, and whatnot. Him big upping himself, so on and so forth. Now we actually get into what his age is. Now, Phil is, as he just said, about 12 years old. The thought process, though, or the common thought is he was probably closer to 15. These are his words, but the problem, yet again, the problem still remains that Phil over-exaggerates the situation and or lies, and so it's even harder to kind of buckle in. But Cypher brought up yet again a good point that the first run was back in 91, at least depending on the make and model of the actual action figure itself. On top of that, there's a point I'm going to bring up to you guys later, which will in some ways give you guys a little bit of the seed of doubt as it pertains to what DSP was actually talking about. Let's continue.
I was heavily, this is the time of my life, I was heavily into comic book collecting. I would read every X-Men, so there were like 4 different X-Men books. I would read every X-Men book. I would read every single, you know, certain Spider-Man and stuff. I was into it. I was into the Marvel comics at the time. And I remember this one time, I was into, again, I still liked action figures. I was into the X-Men action figures at this time. And at this time, I had an allowance, so I would save up my money, and I'd spend it every once in a while to buy these X-Men action figures. So this one day, here's the thing, and a lot of people might not even realize this, too. This was nuts. I got to go into detail a little bit about this. This was absolutely nuts. So, you know, toys are for kids, right? What happened back then is that because the comic book fad was so big, other things that were offshoots of comic books also became collectible and highly valued. So, for example, the X-Men figures. When they came to a store, the box would have like a lot of a certain figures and very little of others. And one of the ones that was the variant that was rare was Wolverine, which was nuts. Why would you make Wolverine the variant that only has a few per box of shipment? Because Wolverine is one of the most popular characters in the X-Men universe. So the Wolverine figure was very rare at the time, okay? And I remember, I went to a comic book store one day with my parents, and the woman.
Now, it being rare and it being heavily sought after, I think, are two separate things. Because you got supply and demand, and then them just producing a certain amount. I just want to throw that out there as a bit of a caveat. Now, secondly, because we don't actually know what figure he was talking about, we don't know if he's talking about the red and yellow variant, or if we're talking about the standard yellow and blue, well, yellow, blue, and black, if you will. And then at that time, at least from what I saw online, I should say, then there was also his Alpha Flight version too, which was super limited and whatnot. Limited, not rare, but limited. So, like, yet again, we don't know and whatnot. And then we don't know if we're talking about standard action figure height, or you start getting up into the larger variants, you know what I'm saying? So there's all kinds of, you know, little things that go into this. Are we talking about the one with the retractable claws, or the ones that were standard with the claws out? Is it the one where all of his limbs move? Is it the one where his mask is actually can come off and come back on? You have all these variables.
Figure was there, and it was expensive. It was like maybe, I think, $20-25, when really the other figures only cost like $7-8. So this one was worth 3 to 4 times more than a normal figure because of its rarity. And I turned to
then it's not the same. Then I would assume it's probably not even the same size as those other figures. At least that's what I'm assuming. And there must be something that sets it apart. Like, it's not actually part of that original run or that eventual line of X-Men like figures, or even Marvel figures, I should say. And there must have been something that separated from everything else to have such a price hike like that. But like I said, that's my own personal opinion.
My mother and father, and I said, guys, listen, I want that action figure for my birthday. So, please, what I would ask you, I've never asked you to do this before. We know how rare that figure is. We know we've been to stores endlessly and we've never seen it in the flesh. It's finally here in front of our faces. Please buy the figure now. Hide it from me for whatever, for months until my birthday, and give it to me on my birthday. This will ensure that I will get this action figure because we know how rare it is. And it's the first time we've seen it. And I begged with my parents, and I pleaded with my parents to get it, right?
Take a sip. So, first thing is, didn't Phil tell us that he was content with anything that was given to him, and if he really wanted it permanently, interesting wording, but permanently, he knew he could get it? Okay, so that's the first thing I want to throw out, but yet he's saying here that he begged and pleaded for it. And keep in mind, he's slightly older now, so take that for whatever grain of salt that you want to give it. Hopefully natural sea salt for my fries. Next thing I'd like to throw at you guys is the fact that it's not rare because you went to this one comic book shop and you saw it for the first time. That doesn't make it rare. It just means it's the first time you've seen it. Have you gone to, when's the last time your mom and dad took you to the toy store? Or wherever it is that you guys normally shop for stuff or whatever, or the toy section of whatever grocery store or whatever store his mother would go shopping at. Just because, that doesn't, yet again, it's those little things like that that doesn't make it rare. It just means it's the first time you've seen it. It might have even been the first time you caught your attention. They may have had it for a while and Phil just never noticed because he was on some other shit. He's a kid, you know what I'm saying? That's what you would kind of expect. So that's another thing that it's like another hole I'd want to poke into his story slightly.
So the way it worked is that maybe once a week we would go to the comic book store. And so like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row, they still didn't buy it, right? Week 4 we go back. It's gone. We asked the store owner what happened. Someone bought it. And I have not, we haven't gotten any more. We've gone to other, it's so popular, we've gone to toy stores. No one can find this action figure anymore. It's that rare. Because it was the most popular character at the time, Wolverine. He was the rarest figure because he was the variant figure in the box figures that would be shipped to toy stores. So my birthday came and passed, and guess what? My parents go, "We're very sorry, Philip, but we couldn't find the action figure." I said, "I told you to buy the figure. Why don't you listen to me?" Like, it was such a no-brainer. All they had to do was buy it then. They could have hidden it forever. I would have never bugged them for it till my birthday. I knew I was going to get it on my birthday. Because they didn't buy it, I didn't get it. I didn't get that figure. I kid you not. I did not get that figure for almost a year. And the reason I got it is because the figure manufacturer realized it was so popular that they were idiots for not making enough. They did a second run, and of course now the figure was valueless because everyone had it because it was the second run figure. So I did eventually get it, but it was the second run, and of course now it's a year later. Do you really think that something I wanted a year ago is as valuable as, but then I was already starting to move into other stuff. So I give you this advice. If you're a
No, you couldn't. So there's a couple of things that come out of that. I'm not going to be able to pull them all out, but I'll be able to pull out what I find that's relevant or precedent at this moment. One, like he said, second run comes out. For whatever reason, he understands exactly how the manufacturing process works. So he was somehow able to identify that it was a second run. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if the actual figure he was talking about, if it said first run on it. He's making an assumption. For all he knows, the version that he was looking at was just a special edition. Even then, it wouldn't say first run on it. I don't know. I don't know if they actually had that on the package or whatnot. So he's making an assumption that they had a second, that it was the first run. For all he knows, that was the second run. For all he knows, that was a special edition. For all he knows, that was a limited edition. It's something different from its standard, from the standard. So that's just something I'm trying to throw out there. He is touching on that slightly, but he doesn't want to commit to it because everything in Phil's life is special for whatever reason. Secondly, look at how at least then, how he was reacting to it. To a situation with an action figure that, as he admitted, a year later didn't mean a damn thing to him. And he tacks on the caveat that, it could have been extremely valuable, this, that, and the third. It wouldn't have been if you played with it. To be honest, the moment it comes out of the wrapper, out of the wrapper or whatever the case may be, it immediately drops by 50%. You know what I mean? And then any scratches, any nicks, any lost parts or broken parts or bent parts in it, it immediately drops and continues to drop in value. You want a perfect example or something a bit more updated? I can do that for you. Look at how, look at his figures, or no, his statues and, you know, his figurines and whatnot that he's trying to sell. Most of those things are damaged. Most of those things have nicks in them, have broken pieces and whatnot, are chipped in certain places and so on and so forth. Whatever value that they have immediately drops. But this idiot right here wants what? He wants actually, initially it was supposed to be like an auction. And then he figured that wasn't going to work. And so he wanted an auction. Then he wanted at least close to the asking price that other people were wanting on eBay. Didn't get that. Then he wanted at least what he paid for it, which is, you know, 5-6 years ago, which is ridiculous. And the fact that each and every one of them, most of them are damaged in some type of way, shape, or form because he didn't take care of it. So who cares? So then if we go ahead and take that thought process, that information, if you will, and we apply it to this action figure, who cares about the value of it or how limited it was and so on and so forth if you weren't going to take care of it anyway? So it wouldn't have had any value. It'd have been just another toy he would have had for 6 or 7 months, and then he would have moved on to something else. But yet he still holds on to it and then tries to tack on, oh, this is how limited it was, this is how rare it was, and here's the monetary value that it could have been, and this, that, and the third. He wouldn't have had it anyway. And even if he did, if you guys remember watching any of Almighty Tevin's moving videos, he left a bunch of shit behind that he really didn't care about. Stuff that was Street Fighter oriented, and you know how much he loves that shit. You telling me that action figure wouldn't have been left in the garbage can somewhere? What was the point? But yet he wants to sit here and try to boast to parents, or soon to be parents, to buy your kids every little fucking thing. Why? Why? And as he said it himself also, I want to throw this out as my last point. He said that, a year later he was into other stuff and it didn't matter and he didn't give a shit anyway, this, that, and the third. Well, his parents picked up on that. They are his parents. I would assume that they paid at least that much attention to him. So when the second run came, if it was a second run, they gave it to him just to shut him up because he probably kept bitching and complaining about it. And then I'm sure at least one of his parents were proven right when they say, he doesn't give a shit about it anyway. So they just kind of gave it to him just to give it to him.
Parent, and your kid definitely tells you they want something and you see it ahead of time, you fucking buy it. You don't wait, because this is what happens every year with remember they had Tickle Me Elmo? They had all these toys. Every year there's the hot toy, and parents don't listen. They don't buy it when they see it. They wait, and then all of a sudden, last minute, everyone goes to buy it, and you don't get it. And now you look like an ass in front of your kid that you couldn't go just do the simple thing of buy them the thing that was there and available right in front of their face at one point, and it's very disappointing for the kid. So, if you can get it ahead of time, get it ahead of time. Okay.
Now let me throw one more thing up there. This pertains to Phil now. You know how Phil talks about all the hype games, this, that, and the third, and everybody wants to go ahead and get those early views, and so that's why the practice of influencers and so on and so forth exists, this, that, and the third, and review copies and yada, yada, yada. But look at what he shits on those practices, even though now he actually depends on reviewers to play the best games, because no matter how good a AAA game is or how new it is, he can't seem to profit for whatever reason. And if he does, it's really the bottom of the barrel. But yet this idiot, 5-6 years ago was sitting there telling people to buy your kid every little fad that comes out and whatnot to appease them. But yet Phil won't sit there and play the games that people want him to play, even when they give him money for it. You see the hypocrisy that comes into that? And though the situation is very much different, look at how he handles his business compared to what he wanted in his personal life. And all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is just the prelude to what ended up coming up later. That's why he bought all of those different video game portraits and pictures and canvases for his house or his condo. That's why he bought all those busts to try to appease a feeling that he had of self-entitlement, to be honest with you. Almost trying to, my parents couldn't do this for me, so I'll make it up to myself. All these different things that he tried to do and how frivolous he spent his money, and look at him now. Because yet again, he's still that 15-year-old or 12 to 15-year-old, if you will, just for posterity's sake, for the sake of argument. who's sitting here bitching and complaining about not getting what he wanted. You know what I'm saying? It's silly. It's silly. But he never gave it up. He never put that away as he got older. He just carried it along with him, which is extremely dangerous. But that's how Phil Burnell rolls.
Now, let's see. And yes, I see someone asking in the chat, yes, my parents did have the money to buy it. They were just fucking stupid.
They had the money to buy it, but they were just fucking stupid. Great way of talking about your parents online to potentially tens of thousands of people, give or take, at that time. Smart way of doing that, Phil. Smart way of doing that. Anyway, and he says that, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. The detractors blew it out of proportion. You said it. I've never called my parents fucking stupid. I'm sure none of you have. You guys may have had your disagreements. Your parents didn't let you do certain shit. You came home late from curfew. You know, whatever. We all break the rules in some way. And, you know what I'm saying? You get checked for it. But I wouldn't say that shit about my parents. It's like, man, it's bullshit. And then you move it. You keep it moving. You know, someone can get mad about no dumb shit like this. Especially not over an action figure, which he had an allowance. If it was so important to him, why didn't he save his allowance and get it for himself? Even though he saw it week in, week out, week in, week out. Oh, you want to know? Uh-oh, I found another one. So think about when Phil talks about these new releases that are coming up that he really wants to play, that he can't wait to play, and he's ecstatic to play. Then, as we get closer and closer, hey guys, I really want to play this game, man. I'm super hyped for it, this, that, and the third. I'm going to need one of you guys to either send me PSN credits for it, or you guys are going to just need to buy the game outright if you really want to see me play it. Despite the fact that I really, 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 really want to play it. You guys are going to have to, you know, dig deep and pay for it. It's the only way I'm going to play it. It's funny how that happens too, huh? It's amazing how something that Phil really, 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 really wants, he doesn't want to spend his money to go get it. He wants other people to pay for it. It's like he's like the Polish version of Debo, except for he's not intimidating. He's not in shape. he's a slug, to be honest with you. Anyway, whatever. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here in the last video and whatnot to close off our little lunch together, if you will. DarkSydePhil and the Wolverine toy, plus interview with the comic book shop owner, 2018. This is by Julius Cruz. Yet again, both videos will be down in the description. Here we go. Here, let me see if I can expand this for you guys just a little bit. I have to cover my burger up, but I think you guys will appreciate it a little more if you saw it. Alright, I think that should be good.
And I remember...
Oh, well, I guess if you saw on that box there, it did say second edition. Now... yeah, it says second edition. I don't know if that's photoshopped or what, but it does say second edition.
I went to a comic book store one day with my parents, and the Wolverine figure was there, and it was expensive. It was like maybe, I think, 20, 25 bucks, when really the other figures only cost like 7, 8 bucks, so this one was worth 3 to 4 times more than a normal figure because of its rarity. And I turned to my mother and father, and I said, guys, listen, I want that action figure for my birthday. So the way it worked is that maybe once a week we would go to the comic book store. Week 4 we go back. It's gone. We asked the store owner what happened. Someone bought it. So my birthday came and passed, and guess what? My parents go, we're very sorry, Philip, but we couldn't find the action figure. I said, I told you to buy the figure. Why don't you listen to me?
I met him 15 years ago. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this...
The slideshows, MrHurth stuff does this too every once in a while, as well as Snorpino and Mighty D. These slideshows are crazy. When you take a look at him, even though it's just a shirt that... it's not even just a shirt that changes. As his shirt changes, his whole persona it switches up. It's scary. It's really, really scary. It'd be dope even though that's incredibly time consuming, I wouldn't recommend anybody do it. If someone did like a time lapse from when DarkSydePhil first showed up, or when he first revealed his face, all the way up till now, I would assume it's something rather frightening. Rather frightening indeed.
Blank, pale, emotionless face, and
I'm just gonna go ahead and order us another round of beers. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you guys have finished your food at this point, because if not, you're probably not gonna want to eat after this, looking at what you're seeing. So I'm just gonna order us another round of beers before we all get back to work. Cool, cool, cool.
the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
For 15 years, I've been obsessed to find out what was going on inside of him. It's been my life work and my ultimate failure. This force, this thing that lived inside of him.
Oh, look at him! Look at the pea fury! that's the face that he gave mom and dad when they found out it was sold out. Look at him! Look at the anger! Oh, it's amazing!
Came from a source too violent, too deadly for you to imagine. This house is sacred to him. He has all his memories here. His rage. It grew inside him, contaminating his soul. It was pure evil.
And yes, I see someone asking in the chat, yes, my parents did have the money to buy it. They were just fucking stupid.
Phil, you make me angry, Phil.
And he says, is there something as a kid that you desperately...
Oh, that's amazing! So good! Okay, cool. I think that's it. Here, let me play this a little further just to make sure.
desperately wanted but you never got? Like a toy or a video game. Now this is a fun...
Yeah, that's it. we're good on that. Oh, man. Alright, so... there we go on that. Wow, that was crazy. That was pretty funny. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop that. And let's go ahead and put that back up there. Alright, cool. So, alright, ladies and gentlemen, so that's it. Let's make of that what you will. We did see what looked like a picture of an action figure with second edition on it. That could have been something that was, I mean, it could be Photoshop, could be real, who knows. It doesn't really matter either which way, to be honest with you. Just because of what he's, I don't know. It's just, I feel like Phil would exaggerate that point to try to make a point. You know what I'm saying? It's very strange that he would do stuff like that, but it is what it is. As it pertains to the age, he kind of says between 10 and 12, he could have been older, to be honest with you. Phil isn't, though he lacks a lot of self-awareness, I think he himself realizes that it'd be pretty stupid for a 15-year-old, if you will, to be bitching about something like that. So it makes a whole lot of sense to go ahead and slice off a couple years to make it seem more reasonable, or at least in his own head. Because even if he does go ahead and changes his age up, him at that age, still complaining about it is just as dumb, if not worse. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a follow-up to this, so please check that out whenever that comes out, or look out for it, I should say, to be honest. And that's basically that. Also, first, let me go ahead and put this back up here, because thank you yet again to Cypher99 for bringing that up. I very much appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? It means a lot. And let me also do a quick shout out real quick before, you know, we go ahead and head off our separate ways. I hope you guys enjoy your afternoon or evening, unless you don't mind having a burger and some beer in the morning, then, you know, that's all gravy too. But I'd like to shout out an individual by the name of GCurse Productions. I actually stumbled across one of his videos looking for these two videos here, and he did a reaction to MrHurth stuff, DarkSydePhil clip show, and he's done a bunch of content. Actually, I had a few minutes to kind of go through his channel and see what was there. He's done video reviews, video game discussion reviews, I should say, video memories and whatnot, talking about retro games and so on and so forth. He's also has a series, I guess, where he's reacting to the show Sightings, as well as Unsolved Mysteries. He talks about the WWE a little bit. and he has a little bit of DSP content. He's pretty well rounded, to be perfectly honest with you. So shouts out to him. I'm gonna leave the description. I'm gonna leave his channel description in my description, as well as the link to at least the video that I was watching, which is reacting to the MrHurth stuff video. I'll leave that down in the description. If you guys have a moment, take a look, check him out. You know, just see what his content has. I like what I saw, so you know what I'm saying. Maybe you'll like some of it too. And if I ever get a chance to reach out to him, I'd love to talk to him. I'd like to hear what he. I'd like to hear some of his takes on DarkSydePhil. But there's a lot of people I'd like to talk to be honest. But I'll throw that out there and whatnot, or maybe we can get him on the Gentleman's Club or live from the Gentleman's Club, which, as you guys know, is kind of my version of that. Or we get him on the Gentleman's Club podcast with Agent Proper. Actually, I'll talk to Agent Proper. That'd probably be really great to get him over there. And just kind of hear his thoughts a little more on as it pertains to DarkSydePhil. So that's a cool thing. So anyway, shouts out to him. Shouts out to Cypher 99. And shouts out to all you guys. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoy your day. And like I said, I might do a few more of these. We'll see. They'll be few and far between, but I think it's something pretty interesting. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you later. This is Quick Bite with GTG. Bye.